Hello everyone, it's Dawn and welcome back. I hope you've all had a good weekend and a good Easter and that you're ready for another week of painting. So from today, we're going to be doing some full paintings. We have up until now mainly been doing little demonstrations or little sort of examples, but today we're going to start on full pictures. So we're going to paint a textured wall. We're going to still paint in watercolour, of course, but we're going to be using something to help us create texture, and I'll show you what that something is in just a minute. So first of all, we're going to start with, but incidentally, this isn't even watercolour paper, it's acrylic paper, but we're going to use it for painting watercolour. It does work, trust me, it does work. And so what we're going to do, we're just going to start by drawing a line to separate the ground from the wall. And then what we're going to do, there's hardly any drawing on this one. All we're going to do is draw a door. And that's the only drawing we need. Well, it's not quite the only drawing we need, but it's the only drawing we need for the time being. So it might be, we'll see how we go. So what we're going to do to create the texture, we are going to use, if I can find the right way around, we're going to use this acrylic texture paste. Now there is a texture paste in watercolour you can use, but the acrylic one will give you a more richer texture or a rougher texture. Or if you haven't got any texture paste at all, a tip for you. Go into the kitchen, raid your cupboard and see if you can find yourself some flour. Plain flour, self-raising flour, bread flour, any flour you like. And just mix it with a little bit of water. But one big tip if you do that, don't put too much water in too soon because you can't save this stuff, it'll go hard. And you'll have tons of the stuff. So just a little bit at a time. But perhaps later on I'll show you a bonus if you want me to. Leave me a comment if you're interested in a demonstration on your own texture paste. Leave me a comment below or about anything else and I'll show you how to do it. Or at least I'll show you how I do it. But for now we're going to use a ready-made one. And I'm going to use a painting knife, or some people could call it a palette knife, but this one is actually a painting knife. And we're just going to trowel it on like that. But with this, of course, you can't paint over it straight away, or you can, but it's better if you leave it to dry. So we're just going to take it out with our knife and we're going to just trowel it on like that. Take it from the door to the edge of your paper. I'm just going to show you on one side and then I'll show you what it looks like when it's all finished and it's ready to paint, because you need to, as I say, you do need to let this dry. Otherwise you might mess up your brushes or your paint for that matter. So we're just going to do one side for now and perhaps over the door a bit. So I have got a piece of rough paper underneath here, which is always advisable because this stuff dries. It doesn't dry quickly, but once it's dried hard, you can't get it off. So you don't want to be ruining your best work surface. So do just pop something over. We'll put a bit over here as well, why not? Let's go over, let's go mad. Oh, let's cover the whole lot, why not? We can always use this again for another time. So I'm going to let this one dry in a minute. And I'm going to use this for another painting. Or for just another painting on its own without demonstrating, after I've demonstrated. So once you spreaded it, that's good English, isn't it? Spread it. Once you spread it all over the area that you want it, we're not going to put it on the ground. We're going to leave that as it is for the time being. To make it even rougher, you can leave it like that if you want to. But if you want a little bit more texture, hold the knife with flat to the paper and just pat it like this. Just tap like that. And it will give you an even greater texture. So tap. If it goes a little bit over the door, don't worry too much about it. So that will give you, if you just tap it with the flat of the knife, that will give you a greater texture. Now, one big thing I will say about this, once you've finished with it, before it has a chance to dry, it'll take a while, but before it has a chance to dry, wipe the thing off. Because once it's dry, you won't get it off and you'll have ruined your painting knife. So just take it, this is just ordinary kitchen roll or kitchen towel. So just wipe it off like that and back to a brand new or clean painting knife again. So that was easy, wasn't it? So now we've done that, obviously we can't paint on that one because we need it to dry. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to slide this one to one side. In fact, I'm going to put it out of the way in a minute. And I'm going to bring in one that I did last night. And we're going to paint on that one because that one's finished and it's nice and dry and it's nice and hard. So what we need now, of course, is a paintbrush. And today I'm just using ordinary watercolour brushes. Just for once, I'm going to be normal. Well, when I'm painting anyway. So here we go. We're just going to wet the brush a bit and I'm going to mix up. My desk's a bit of a mess today, so if I try and bring the palette over, I'll probably knock over 10,000 things. So we are going to mix up a little puddle of yellow ochre and just a hint of burnt sienna. So you want about a quarter of burnt sienna to yellow ochre. So not too wet. So I'm just mixing this up a little bit, that'll do. And you'll see what it looks like in a minute. So what we're going to do now, you can see it on my brush, nice and stained. And we're just going to paint that over there. And as I paint it on, you can see the texture coming through on that texture paste. So we're going to finish this scene up completely now. So we're going to leave the door frame white. We will paint the door frame in shortly, but let's just get this wall done first. So pick up a bit more. So I haven't got this too puddly. I've got it liquid, but not too puddly, not too wet. So we're going to bring that right down to there. Don't worry about that bit. We'll cover that up in a second. So we're just going to pick up, I'm going to add a little bit more burnt sienna just to warm it up a bit. So we're going to carry on doing that. And we're going to paint all over and cover this area. Cover the wall. Well, we're going to cover the wall anyway. So we'll do that now. Very quickly. Once you've got the hang of this, you're going to love it because you can create some gorgeous textures. So I might need to pick up just a little bit more colour actually. That's all right, won't take a second. There we go. So we're going to carry on. Sorry, I stopped talking there, I was thinking. So there we go. So there is our wall, all done. That didn't take long, did it? And you've still got that gorgeous texture. And it'll look even more texture by the time we're finished because we're going to do a little bit more to it. What I am going to do is put my texture paste out of the way and put the lid on so that I don't knock it over. Although because it's paste, even if you knock it over, it won't come out and make a mess. So that's one good thing about it. So what we're going to do now, I'm just going to give my brush a good wash. But I'm going to use my knife, now that I've cleaned it off, in a different way. What we're going to do, we're going to mark out, this works on watercolour paper. I've never tried this on acrylic paper, so I don't know if it's going to work. But we're going to have a go. What we're going to do, we're going to use it, well, I think it will work. And as you can see, I'm holding it actually on the blade. And what we're going to do, we're going to score out the wood panels on our door, like that. So that should work, sheet opener. And well, I think we will just make it, shall we make it a red door or shall we make it a brown door? Oh, let's make it a red door, let's make it nice and bright. So I'm just going to pick up some cadmium red, which I've got on my palette. And just there, mix it up like that. Now, when I paint this on, you should be able to see the score lines that I've put in. Because what happens is the paint goes in the dips and it makes it look darker. So you'll see those lovely panels. So there we go. You can see those panels coming out quite nicely. I'm just going to pick up a little bit more paint. So I'm going to paint that down like that. And I will paint the door frame just to make it a bit straighter. But we'll deal with that in a minute. No problem at all. I'm going to make it quite... I was originally going to leave it white, but I've changed my mind. I think it'll stand out better if we make it dark. So I've got some burnt umber on my palette as well. So we're just going to paint that down like that. So you can see these lines emerging. We're not going to make this very prominent because this is really all about the texture of the wall. But once we paint something else in, it enhances that texture, especially if you've got another texture next to it. So there we go. There is our door. You can see these lovely lines. I'm just going to wash my brush out and pick up some just neat burnt umber with not too much water in it. So a fairly dry brush. So there we go. we're going to start up there and paint down there. We'll add the ground in a minute. I'm not going to leave it white. We're going to finish this painting to completion. So we may be a little bit long. The videos from today may be a little bit longer than they have been because we are going to start doing full demonstrations, as we've said. But it'll give you an idea of different ways of painting, different ways of creating effects, and what they're going to look like when they're finished. So that's what we're going to carry on doing, and we're going to do that. We are going to just come down there. Now some of this paint will still be wet, so I'm going to try very hard not to make a mess and not put my fingers in it or my hands in it. So there you are. I think we managed that okay. So that's looking okay. And we do need a lock. So what I'm going to do, well, I've got some dark. I'm just going to put a blob like that. There is our lock. That's all you need. Don't need anything more fancy than that. So we're going to wash the brush out yet again. And we need something down here. And I'm going to pick up some yellow ochre. Actually, what I am going to do is find a bigger brush. Otherwise, we'll be here all day. So this is just neat yellow ochre, or it will be. So I'm just going to pick up some neat yellow ochre with nothing else in it and make it reasonably runny, but not very, very runny. Just so that there's a difference in tone from the wall. Yeah, I think that'll be fine. So we're going to paint that along there like that. And what we might do, I don't know whether we will be able to because it might not be dry enough. But if we can get away with it, what we're going to do is we're going to paint a flower pot and put some flowers around the wall or around the door. So while that's drying off a little bit, I think we'll just wash our brush out, go back to our smaller brush, again wash that out, and I'm going to mix, I've got a very mucky raw sienna, but that'll do. No, it's not raw sienna, I beg your pardon, it's burnt sienna. So I'm going to pick that up, and into my burnt sienna I'm going to add just a touch of burnt umber, just to make it a bit darker. So now we're sort of taking our life in our hands here because this might not be dry enough and it might bleed and it might make a mess, but that's all right. No, I think we're going to get away with that. Oh, that was a bit of luck, wasn't it? So what we're going to do here, we're going to paint a flower pot, just like that. So flower pots are dead easy to paint. You don't have to worry about them. Just paint the shape. You don't even have to draw them in first, as you can see. So you can adjust the shape as you go. If you're not happy with the shape, just keep on adjusting it, even the size, until you're happy with it. And I think I'm happy with that. And what I'm going to do now is take some neat, almost dry burnt umber, because I want a dark line under the rim. Just about there. Oh, that's perfect. So just about there. And I think that'll do for our flower pot, you know. And then what we're going to do, we do need some flowers around the door. So I'm going to pick up my big brush again. It's already quite wet. I've got some sap green over here. So we're just going to mix up a little sap green. Again, with an ordinary watercolour brush. And what we're going to do, we're going to use our brush as a stippling brush. It will be quite wet. It might even bleed in a little bit, but that's okay. So what we're going to do, let's make it a bit thicker actually. Pick up a bit more. Oh, that's better, I think. Yes, that's better. We're just going to bring this over the door up to about there, I think. We don't need it much further than that. And then I'm going to wash my brush out, and then with my smaller brush I am going to pick up some cadmium red, almost neat cadmium red. I'm only going to use whatever water is already on the brush, and we're going to just dot some flowers in like that. Just dot. So they could be little roses or whatever red flowers we've got. So you can tell I'm an expert in these things, can't you? So just pick up a little bit more red. Not too much, she says. This is quite good fun, so if you do go a bit mad, don't worry. And there we have some flowers over the door. Now if you wanted to, you could be really daring. And this is just pure indulgence on my part, I have to say. you could put a flower pot the other side. Let's be really daring. And so again, exactly the same. Burnt sienna with a little bit of burnt umber in it. And once again, we're going to just wash that out. Pick up some virtually neat burnt umber with hardly any water in it. And just do that rim under there. You don't have to be too precise. And I think it does need some flowers on the other side. So I'm going to pick up some more sap green on that side. And we're going to tap in a bit more. There's not much left on there, but that's all right. We'll pick up what we've got. And I think it should go all the way around. What do you think? I think it needs to go all the way around. Maybe overhang. There we go. And just to finish that off, I'm just going to leave that in there for a minute. I'm just going to pick up some more cadmium red, if I can find some space in my palette. And we're just going to finish this off. Just dab randomly. You don't have to be too precise with this. Just dab some flowers in. And there you go. We are done. There we have a lovely textured wall using our texture paste. We have a door, very simply painted, simple flooring and a very simple garland of flowers around our door. So I hope you've enjoyed that, and I hope it's helped you to discover new ways of painting texture and added interest to your paintings. So thank you for watching. Do subscribe. If you haven't already, please do hit that subscribe button and the notification bell, because I've got lots more tricks and treats to show you. And I will be back on Thursday with a new demonstration for you and a new full painting. So I hope you can join me for that. And in the meantime, thank you so much for watching. I do hope you've enjoyed it. Take care, everybody. Have fun. And as always, happy painting. Bye-bye for now.